Hi, Asking Artist here. I am so excited to show you this podcast with the interview with this gentleman here that is joining at the age of 41, which obviously is a change to the Navy standard of when you join the Navy, right? It used to be like the cutoff was like 39. It's changed throughout the years, but they made it so that if you graduate boot camp before you turn 42, you can join. And just a wonderful person. I hope you really enjoyed this. One thing to notice, though, is you're going to see some cuts in the audio and in the video, really, because we had some technical problems like this.
What is your favorite food that you guys serve when you're like out to sea? Not when like
Oh. So if you see it, it's purely because I'm just cutting out the whole technical problem when we kept freezing and stuff like that. Discord was acting a little funny, but hope you guys enjoy.
Oh man, you'd be surprised. Like it's kind of nice just having casual conversation for the most part, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't do anything like official, like in the sense of like I'm not like CNN or Fox or a reportive journalist. It's more so, hey man, I think you have an interesting story and you seem like an interesting dude. I just wanted to like hang out and talk. If you don't mind me
I
asking a few questions, is all. And if you have
no,
questions
I
as well,
yeah, actually so a couple followers did have some questions they wanted me to ask you too, so
heck yeah,
this is
man,
pretty cool.
for sure.
Oh, and I wanted to say future sailor Hill respectfully requesting permission to come aboard, Chief.
You wouldn't salute me if I was on the quarterdeck, but yeah, come aboard.
Well, isn't that what we're supposed to do in boot camp? What I just did?
What do you mean?
So like if you're my RDC, don't I? Isn't that like part of the procedure I have to do to basically everybody?
Well, it depends, right? So there's actually some videos. There's a bunch of like YouTube videos on this, right? I guess they
Hmm.
don't really explain it in context enough. So if you're standing watch in the front, in fact, here, let me just. Is there a way I can just pull this up?
That's what my recruiters. They when you go to the recruiting office for DEP, that's what you do when you go into the recruiting office. I guess that's what they say to get you ready to go to boot camp.
Yeah, for sure, right? It teaches you to. So you have stuff like. This is gonna come across as an image when I do this, right?
How often is a chief gonna be a sentry anyway? That sounds like it would be pretty rare.
It really. Why is it not letting me do this? I
You
don't know.
have
So
to probably share your screen, so you'd probably have to.
I'm just trying to drag and drop it into the chat. It won't let me do it.
Oh, into the chat. I closed that. Let me see.
Yeah, it won't even let me do that. I don't know.
You can upload files in there
Oh
if you
yeah,
click the little plus button.
let me do that then. Let's say, for example, you do this, or trying to find a good picture. In short, though, you have your compartment, right? And
Hmm.
you'll see like videos of like RDCs entering into the compartment,
Yeah,
and what you have is the watch that stands there.
yeah.
They changed the names of it. It was like Security Watch, Roving Security Watch. They changed it a lot. Last time I was there, it was Roving Security Watch. It's been about. I left there in 2021, by the way, so I haven't been in RDC in a minute, and I'm actually transferring to another ship right now. Um, and then you also have like quarterdeck watches. There you go.
Oh, it's not. Let's see. There it goes.
Right, so that's the
Nice.
quarterdeck watch. It's just when you enter into the building. Quarterdeck is any entrance into like a base or anything like that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So as soon as they at RTC at least, you say, like, good morning, sir, ma'am, or chief, petty officer, seaman recruit, so and so. This watch. I forget what the phrase is already because it's been so long. But there's a phrase, and when you're standing it in your compartment, you'll actually have it right next to your face, and it's a thing that you
Hmm.
say. It's just a casual greeting, right? And now that's
Yeah.
to prepare you for when you come to a ship. When you come into a ship, literally people will just come up and they'll walk across the brow, salute the ensign if it's daytime, and then they'll show you your ID and then say request permission to come aboard. And then you, as the messenger of the watch, pet officer of the watch, or officer of the deck, depending on who's the one that's going to be greeting, it's usually the non-armed watch stander, will come up, inspect your ID to make sure it's legit, and then they'll salute you back and give you permission to come aboard, or grant you if necessary, which is 99 times out of 99 times actually you'll come aboard. But yeah, so what
Hmm.
it is it's a greeting that you practice, and you'll do it anytime any staff member comes in while you're in boot camp. So whether you're standing like this picture, which is the quarterdeck, to the barracks, which is the whole, they call them ships, right? They get you ready
Yeah.
for training. Um, so when you come in, you'll do that, and then if you're standing that watch, but if you're standing watch in your compartment, when they come into your compartment, you'll greet them, and then like I said, it'll be on the bulkhead right next to your face. Like I'm trying to find that pictures of people saluting, and it's
I've seen
literally
it in
just right
your
next to your
videos a
face.
bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So
like the fishbowl on the left side, and then there's that little wall with the entryway. There's like
yeah,
a real short P way, and then there's like three posters and a whiteboard right there in the entrance.
yeah, you nailed it. It's just like that.
And it's got the script with the blank where you put your name and then the person's title.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I watched your video a couple times.
Thanks, man.
I
Yeah,
got
no,
it memorized.
I mean that's like the whole point of creating the channel is like, I mean, like, there's multiple reasons. One, I just wanted to be able to like add to the space because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are currently in the Navy and they do still a lot of complaining. And cool, I think a complaining sailor is a happy sailor, right? You're voicing your opinions and stuff like that, and that's good. But okay, cool. No one, for me, I wanted to be like, okay, there's people who want to join, or there's people who are in that are having a hard time for whatever reason getting information that would help them succeed. So I wanted to get that information out, and then sometimes run out of information, so I just start talking about things that I like, and I think are cool in the Navy or in the military in general. So I
Hmm.
just try to add to the space. There's like a couple of times too where people are like, "Hey, this officer training video came out. You should do a video on it." I watched it and I'm like, man, I don't know anything about officer training, so I have no idea. Like, I'm not going to make a video because I have nothing to add to it.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's
Do
the
you have plans to be a Mustang ever?
no, I did. I submitted a package, but I rescinded it when I got one of my mentors is a warrant officer, and I submitted a
Hmm.
warrant officer package, and I was going through, and I was going to be selected, is what I was told. I was not because I rescinded my package. Um, the lifestyle was not. What's the best way to describe it? I was not going to be happy. I'm very
Hmm.
happy with what I do. It's not easy. There's times where it's very hard, and there's of course there's days where you're like, I hate this job,
Hmm.
but for the most part, I say I like this job. So when I saw what their roles and responsibilities were, I was just and what's going on in my life personally, I wasn't going to see myself being very happy, and I don't think if I was going to be able to do the job properly with the right state of mind. So
That makes sense.
yeah,
What
nothing but
what
respect for them.
level what level chief are you?
What do you mean?
Are you chief, senior chief, master chief?
Oh, chief. Yeah,
Chief?
E7.
Okay. So I mean, so because the only reason I'm asking is because I think I understand that basically if you don't keep ranking up in the Navy, they try to kick you out.
So there is a thing called high year tenure. So it states that each rank you have you. It's not so much so that you can only be that rank for so many years, which I guess you could explain it that way. The reality is, by this year, you have to be at least this pay grade. If you're not, then we're going to higher tenure you. And there's waivers for those things as well.
Hmm.
But so, and I don't quote me on this, but say for example, by the time you're 6 years in, if you're still an E4 and you haven't made E5 yet, you can't reenlist. Like you're
Yeah.
done. And then when you make
Yeah.
E5, the new cutoff is that kind of a thing. So it's yeah, if you aren't progressing by this time, then they're gonna let you go. So that's called higher tenure. But there are
Hmm.
some rates that are kind of locked up. For example, like corpsman is pretty locked up. It's kind of difficult to move up there unless you're like really, 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 hot stuff. And so that means that there's people who are just really, really good corpsmen, but they're not like the peak. It's a
Yeah.
very saturated rate. So there's a lot of people who are HM2s that have been in for 18 years because they get higher tenure waivers.
Brought that up, and I've been looking it up, is because the rate that I got, RP, is a rate that a lot of people say people do not leave that rate. They're want like MCs, RPs. There's only 700 or so RPs in active duty and about 200 to 300 in reserves. People just don't leave that rate. So some of my veteran friends were saying like, you could run into some trouble. They're not going to just have a bunch of E6 RPs running around. So that's why I kind of was trying to look into that and see what my options were. Might be
Yeah.
early, but
So I'll talk to this in like more of a generalistic term, not specifically to RP. The
Hmm.
so the way it works is, let's say, hey, the Navy needs 20 RP1s. They need 20 new E6 RPs. So what they do is when they hold the exam, they choose the top 20 scores. So if they say the next year they need zero, then it's zero, unless you get
Yeah.
mapped, right? Because of course you could also get mapped, meritoriously advancement program.
Hmm.
And then there's DMAP as well, which is where they do it within the command, so you can fill the spot that's in the command as well. Um, so in that sense, you also get orders along with your promotion. It's a little more detailed than that. I don't know enough about it to be able to speak through it
Okay.
knowledgeably and explain. But they're in a sense they're trying to make it so that when people get meritoriously promoted within their command, they're able to do it to fill a position. So the program still exists, but it now it fits within somewhat finite realm of how it operates. So yeah, I mean, to see the reverse of that would be to look at the GSE rate. So the gas turbine. Oh man, I'm not gonna gas service electrician. I believe I don't. Man, I'm gonna cut that part out because I'm being real disrespectful and messing that up that rate. But they're an engineer in a sense. They work with the engines, but
Hmm.
their rate. At one point, there was this thing called perform to serve. It was around 2013 that they just started. They're in short. It's more detailed, but in short, a lot of people got kicked out, or they said, "Hey, you will not reenlist. You're done." They're shaving down the military and the size. So the way that worked is a lot of like it wasn't like across the board. It was more so that just like the higher ups were just like, "Hey, go ahead, go," kind of a thing. Um,
Okay.
so what that did is leave a huge gap. So when we started building up our military again, specifically in the Navy, there was a point that like GSE to make GSE 2 to make GSE 1 to make Chief GSE was 100%.
It was just.
It was like you put your name on that test and you pass it. You don't even have to score high. You're making it, man. Like that was it. It was wild. Um, Not every rate was like that, but most rates did start opening up again because of stuff like that. So yeah, you're gonna have that, and it depends on the rate. They say choose your rate, choose your fate, and they use that for a lot of explanations. And one of them is advancement. So yeah, there could be times where it's like, and it's locked up. There might be hundreds of you that were eligible for promotion, but they only need tens of you. So it could be hard. Oh, I think you froze up on me. Hello.
Are you back?
Hello. Yeah. Did I freeze up on
Okay.
you, or did you freeze up on me? I'm not sure.
I could hear you the whole time. Your screen got blurry, but it could be because, like I said, I'm on the Wi-Fi here. I have a my desktop has like a built-in antenna that's pretty good, but it's not as good as Ethernet, obviously.
Yeah. No,
So
I've been having
the
problems with
reason
Discord the last week actually, regardless of what internet I've been on. So it might not even be you, man.
hmm, that is kind of weird. I usually have really because I game and I use Discord to chat with my buddies while we're game. I never really have a problem with it.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just saying this
Um,
this last week has been a problem for me.
maybe it's just your area or something, whatever server you connect to.
Yeah, probably.
So I was gonna say, just from a civilian having no experience at all in the military, just watching people's videos, with the choose your rate, choose your fate. It almost seems kind of like a gamble in a sense if you're gonna choose advancement because I think it's very like it changes all the time. Like the mission changes. Like now we're down at the border, before we were in other places. So now I think before, maybe if you wanted to be like a CTI or something, you probably weren't gonna get Spanish. We have enough native Spanish speakers in the military. They're not gonna need that. But now maybe they do. So who knows? Maybe if CTIs were, like you said, locked up, where people couldn't advance. Maybe now a whole bunch of people that are where Spanish is like one of their native languages, they're probably gonna have a chance to move up. So it's like
Maybe
you,
it.
yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
in
Maybe.
that essence, I don't know what. how the CTs in general are broken down, because some rates are broken down into two completely different categories. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, everyone says for a while until September 2017, there was a rate just called FC, fire controlman, but there was two
Mm-hmm.
types. There was the
Yeah.
fire controlman Aegis and fire controlman. Now, you could tell
Mm-hmm.
us difference through our NECs, the 4-digit code, and now it's letters and codes, letters and numbers that assign specifically what we do. Because it's not like one FC can work on 5-inch and CWIS and Harpoon and Aegis and Mark 38. They're specific to
Mm-hmm.
those things. Some of them do multiple things, but in general, it's specific, right? Um, but we were not graded against each other. Like FCAs and FCs were not graded as far as advancement. We took the same test, but there was two different pools. Like, so we need this many FCAs and this many FCs. So we were separated in that sense. Same thing with CTs. I don't know how they're separated. I think corpsmen for a while were also separated between dental and medical corpsmen. There might have been a third one. I'm not sure. So it really depends. Yeah, you could say, oh, we need more Spanish, so the Spanish ones are going to get promoted. Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that. But like I said, I don't know if maybe CTs are separated in the sense of when it comes to the language ones, if they're specifically like we need this many first class Spanish CTs and this many first class Russian CTs. I don't know that it's separated that way. So I wouldn't say that that gives you an advantage in that sense. I would say it just depends on where you're going to be placed. Choose your rate, choose your fate as far as like advancement. Sure, that could be also a thing, like I said, but it could also be a thing of like, do you have long working hours? Do you have normally short working hours? Do you get to travel a lot? Or are you only stuck on shore commands? For example, once again, the Aegis FCs would be a great example for this argument. They can only go on cruisers and destroyers because they're the only
Yeah.
Aegis baseline ships. As far as being assigned to ships, there's shore duty options, but now you're stuck on cruise and destroyers. You'll never be stationed on an aircraft carrier. Yeah, yeah. I would say unless there's some weird thing that says you're stationed on an aircraft carrier, but I would say 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get stationed on anything but a cruiser or destroyer. So there's
Are you an
that
FC?
effect. Yeah, I'm a Aegis FC.
My brother was an FC3.
Nice.
He
What did
was
he work
on
on?
the Elliott and the Princeton.
What did he work on?
He shot the cannon on front of the 5-inch.
Oh, he's a 5-inch tech. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because I got to go on an Independence cruise or Tiger cruise, whatever it was. I don't remember when we went to San Diego because we live here in Southern California. So we drove to San Diego. They took us on a bus to Seal Beach, which is like like an hour or so in LA Ventura area.
Yeah, that's where we do the
And then
onloads.
yeah, exactly. I think that's also where like one of the Coast Guard's bases is right there in Ventura.
Hmm.
And we got on his ship and then took it back down to San Diego. And
Yeah.
his buddies who were fire controlmen, they did like the tomahawks and stuff. The guy actually took me down to where the tomahawks were, like in underneath where the little hatches are and stuff, where they actually shoot out. The guy
Yeah.
took me down there to go see the tomahawks, like touch them. And then and when I was a kid, I've always been 6'3", 280 pounds. Even when I was like 13 years old, I just blew up. So I'm bigger than this sailor. He's like a smaller guy, but he's older than me. I'm like, maybe I was like 15 or something when my brother was doing this. And I'm like, is it okay if I touch these? He's like, yeah, you can't do anything to them. He's like, you got to like turn a knob to activate it. And then people up there got to launch it. And he's like, you can't do anything to these. It
Yeah,
was fun.
it's a little more complicated than that. Yeah, so that's called the Mark 41 VLS, vertical launch system.
Yeah, that's what it was. The VLS. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sick. And my brother's one of those people that is like really good at what he likes to do. Whenever he's into something, he goes 110%. He does it in his sleep, like literally sleepwalks and because he's so into it.
Yeah.
But he's very charismatic too, so people like him. So he's able to get me down. I got to go in the blue room and see like his little, I mean, you obviously know it, but just for people who might not know it, if you ever seen those old arcades like Centipede or Galaga, where it has literally a white ball and like 3 buttons on the side and a screen, it looks really low tech too. Like it looked like simple radar you see in a movie. That was my brother's workstation, and there's just screens everywhere with like simulated airplanes, like friendly and foe, and the computer's targeting them, and people are talking to them on a computer. It's pretty sick.
Oh, you went to CIC.
How he called it the blue room? Is that what you call it? CIC?
So the lights in there are blue. Yeah.
It's
So,
blue and it's really cold.
yep. Yeah.
It's freaking
Yeah. That's
awesome.
the Combat Information Center. Yeah, that's where all those
That's
consoles
so
are.
badass.
Depending on what baseline of a ship you're on, because a ship can go
Hmm.
through upgrades and get stuff. Some of that stuff that like looks old. I remember when I first saw it too. I'm like, man, this is like some like 1990s looking stuff. Like, how are we the world's strongest navy on this? And then you find out it's really simple, and it never breaks,
Yeah.
and it
Hmm.
works, and it'll work if it's on fire. If you hit it with a hammer, it's rugged. And then yeah, there's upgraded systems too. Now you have ones that are like 3 screens and running Windows 11, and you can have like browsers up while you're
Yeah.
also looking at a radar screen where you're also looking up amplification data. And so, yeah, there's ones that are way more upgraded, and that's just when your ship gets that upgrade, it gets it. But
Well, the
yeah,
big screens look new. The big screens and that information was all smooth and fast. It's just his little radar thing looked like stereotypical, like Hunt for Red October submarine radar. Just, like my civilian mind couldn't even comprehend, literally green circle grid lines with like a sweeping boop, boop. I was like, what the heck is this?
yeah, man, that's how radars work. Not all, because there are some that are stationary and they're called phased array, where the phase can
Mm-hmm.
go and point specific directions. It's not just blasting out like a flashlight.
Okay.
But radar, it spins around. When it
Mm-hmm.
sends out and then receives, sends out, receives over and over and over and over again, and it's doing it, thousands of times. So when you see on movies or the real thing where it just looks like it's a sweep, it's actually going out then in, out then in, out then in, out,
Mm-hmm.
like so fast though that it looks like a line. Um, but yeah, I mean
Pretty
that's how
cool.
radars work.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. And then my brother was also on I can't ever remember the initials, but I think VBSS
Yeah,
team or
visit
whatever.
board search and seizure.
Is that what it is? Is it VBSS?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he used to go do that with the Marines. So my brother's cruisers were not Aegis class cruisers, but they were upgraded, like you said, with Aegis stuff.
What ship was your
The
brother's?
the USS Elliott and the USS Princeton. I can't remember the numbers. One of them's like I think one is a destroyer, one is a DD.
It was a DD.
One of them is a DD,
Yeah,
and
967.
what's that again?
DD 967.
I don't know. Is it what's the name?
USS Elliott.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah, that was not a Aegis
Yeah.
destroyer. What's funny though is if you look at these DDs, these
Mm-hmm.
older destroyers, and then you
Mm-hmm.
look at current cruisers. I mean, they're decommissioning them right now, but if you look at current cruisers, they're almost exactly the same because the
Yeah.
CG builds of Aegis cruisers were actually utilizing the DD platform,
Mm-hmm.
and they're huge. They're so spacious compared to
Yeah.
like current destroyers, where they literally from the ground up are like, all right, this is the stuff we're gonna put in it. Maybe add an inch or two so people can walk by and go. And so there's just like no space anywhere. It's the difference between like living in a condo and living in a full house when you between like living in a cruiser and being in a destroyer.
I hope if I go on a ship, I get to check out one of the new aircraft carriers that have like I think they said it has like 1,500 less people that need to work it. And actually, the berthings are even bigger. The racks are bigger. Everything in it, there's more room because the ship requires less people to operate it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about aircraft carriers other than maybe they just got rid of the steam ones. All the steam ones are pretty much done now, and they're all nuclear powered.
Yep. So they were like my dad's aircraft carrier. This one is diesel powered. And then so it's cool they used to have these designated CVA for attack, whereas now and then they had just CVs and now they have CVNs for nuclear. But this one is a Kitty Hawk class aircraft carrier. And then I think after that was Enterprise. And then now we have the Gerald R. Ford class, which I think is like the ones that are in the Red Sea right now.
Yeah.
But
I was
supposedly they're building new ones. I don't know what class they are, but it's pretty exciting. I love aircraft carrier. I just love all ships, really. I think it's freaking exciting.
Yeah, man, they're huge. I mean, I did that video recently about ships being huge, which is funny because I used the cruiser as an example because my first ship
Mm-hmm.
was a cruiser, a little nostalgic. If you put a cruiser next to that picture that's right behind you, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's tiny.
There's probably one in here somewhere.
Dude, I'm just like make a fist and then like hold it back here to
Yeah,
and
here's a
then there
cruiser.
you go. That's a cruiser, man, compared to an aircraft carrier. Like
But it's
holy
way more
crap, they're
deadly.
huge.
Yeah. And well, in this one's it's crazy they haven't really changed that much in size, more just like technology and capability, which is kind of cool.
Kind of
They
makes
can
sense too, you
displace
know.
more and
You want it to still be big so you can carry all the extra
Mhm.
warfighting capability with planes.
Yeah, that video you did was cool where you were talking about if you took one out and stood it up, how tall it would be compared to buildings and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's cool when you because unless you've seen these in person, like I've only ever been on the Midway, but I've been in the water next to these. And when you're on like a little boat going by when they're parked and you're looking up, you're just like,
Yeah. Dude,
and it's
I was like that when I was on my ship and we were going by a I don't know what aircraft carrier it was, but it was in the yards and we were going by it and I just remember doing the same thing, just
just
like
like,
you don't
oh
really
my
think about it. It's
gosh,
just dwarfing us. Like,
it's insane. And it's crazy how deep they go into the water too.
mm-hmm.
Like,
The
when
draft.
you don't know a lot about boats, you're just like, oh, it's, people think it's just floating right here, but it's like there's like a giant piece that comes out the front here
The
and
sonar dome.
it's freaking insane. So
Yeah.
what other ships have you been on besides cruiser destroyers?
That's it. I mean, stationed wise, that's it. I've been
And then
on
you
other ships. I've like done like, you know, I have friends that are on other ships, and I was like, yo, let me check it out. So I've been on
you can do
LHAs,
that?
LPDs, um, submarine.
You can do that?
Yeah, as long as your ship allows it. But for the most part, like they're like, hey, I want to check it out.
What? Like when you're like ported together, you can just go like to hang out with your buddy on their ship or whatever.
I mean, it's
Like if
easier if
you're
you
on
have a
Liberty.
friend that's on that ship and you're on Liberty. Be like, yeah, yo, like, can I check out your ship? They're like, sure. And they'll just walk you around. You know, you want to bring your family on board? Go ahead. You don't get what would be considered unfettered access. There
Yeah,
are still always going to be something that, unless you need to know or need to be on that ship or need to, whatever the circumstances, you may not, right? But
yeah,
I mean, you're still going to see a majority of the ship. For the most part, you
that's
usually get to
cool.
like walk around, just like check things out. And what I don't know, me as a sailor, I'd be like, yeah, what's your galley setup like? What's your berthing setup like? What's your bridge setup like? What's your CIC? You know, the things that I care about. Other people are just want to see what's your engine room and stuff like that. I don't know, whatever gets you going, right?
Whatever rate you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Uh,
I like to see all of it. It is super interesting because you don't have nuclear power. I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to go in the engine room of a new aircraft carrier 'cause that's probably
no.
top secret.
Yeah, it's
But it
pretty.
would be cool to see. Like
I
if
wouldn't
they
be
were like,
against
"Hey, you
seeing
want to go
it.
see?"
I don't know how that stuff works, but
That's what I'm saying.
if
Like,
someone said, "Hey, you want to see a nuclear powered engine?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I don't know what you're looking at, but
yeah.
I want to see it to say I saw it." Yeah,
You go in there, it's just a metal wall. That's all it is. You're like,
yeah,
there it is. You're like, okay, that's it right there.
yeah.
Um, did what is your favorite food that you guys serve when you're like out to sea?
See?
Yeah, when you guys don't have like a fresh unwrap. Like say, the milk is gone, the eggs are gone. What is your favorite like bare minimum food that the ship serves?
Wow, I don't think I've been in that drastic of a situation. I've heard people being in that drastic of a situation.
My dad's was chili mac.
I mean, we serve that as a regular. So you'll actually find that majority of ships follow the same schedule when it comes to food.
Okay.
Not all, but so it'll be like Monday is some sort of Chinese food. Tuesday is always Taco Tuesday or some sort of
Okay.
Mexican styled food. Wednesdays is
Mm-hmm.
always burgers and like chicken nuggets and stuff. I don't remember what Thursdays. Thursdays would usually be something Italian. And then it used to be Fridays were fried food, but they got rid of all the deep fryers on ships. So I don't remember if Friday was anything special, but Saturday night was always pizza and wings.
And then Sunday is leftovers.
Sunday is just usually just something random, nothing special, nothing really to take
Okay.
home. Usually it's something usually very simple. Especially underway, it's kind of like a holiday routine thing. So you actually get underway Sundays, and it would be like, oh, what do they call it? Continental breakfast, where it's just more so
Oh,
like
okay.
it's basic. Usually they prep food and they put it out, and it's food that you can just grab for yourself, kind of a thing.
Cereal,
And then they
scrambled eggs, potatoes, like the regular continental breakfast stuff.
Yeah, that stuff where it's like
Waffles.
chimichangas that they heated up and threw out in the line, kind of a thing. And then you get brunch, so it's like starts to like in general, it's different from ship to ship, but like 10 to like 1300, it'll be like food where it's like lunch and breakfast options. You kind of mix them up. Um, then yeah, really that's it. I mean, there's and then I always see like videos of people talking about mid rats where it's like it's a
Yeah,
specialized middle of the night food
mid
given to
rations,
people who are like on the night shift because the ship is manned and on
24
watch
hours.
24/7 underway.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like up at least a quarter of the crew is up, and that's their breakfast is mid rats. It's not really anything special. Maybe they'll cook
Yeah.
one or two things, but for the most part, it's leftovers.
Okay.
Because waste
I
not,
hear
want not,
that.
right? So I mean, and it's not bad. I
Yeah.
mean, it's usually leftovers. Like was the food good during the day? Well, then it's going to be good at night. It's just
Right.
they keep
I
it warm and then they put it out at night again and serve you, and then so hey, you get the same food. It's good.
I hear that being on small boys is better for that kind of like not as many lines and things like that for food and washing machines as compared to being on like an aircraft carrier.
I mean, I'm not a CS, so I couldn't compare
No,
to
no,
that.
just usability, not actually working, but
Oh,
like just you going to eat, you going to do your laundry and things like that.
I
But you're chief now, so you go to chief's mess. That's different too. But
yeah,
for the
I
other people,
mean,
for the regular people,
yeah. Well, for 12 years I wasn't a chief, so uh, I wasn't. I wouldn't come out the womb being a chief joining the Navy.
oh, you did it? What?
No,
You don't just start off as chief?
no, that would be horrible if that were true. Yeah, no, I mean, so it's hard to. I've only been on small boys, so I can't
Hmm.
say if that's a true statement. I've never had a complaint. I always thought the system worked. If there is a better way to do it, I'm all ears. I'm down for it. Um, I don't see a problem with the way we do things. I don't think it's a big argument when it comes to being on the deck plates of like, oh yeah, the way we do meals is sucks. It's
Well, I
you
think it's the
don't mess with people's
people,
food, so no one really messes with it.
right? I think some of the influencers I've seen do it, like they worked on the flight deck, so they kind of had to go far from their job to get food to begin with, and then by the time they're kind of like if you work in an Amazon warehouse and the break room is at the front of the building and your department's in the back of a 2 million square foot warehouse,
Yeah.
like all the people that work towards the front, they're getting all the good stuff out of the vending machines and using everything first, where the guys that are walking from the back, if I just feel like on a small boy, you probably don't have that phenomenon as much as you would on a
Yeah,
aircraft carrier.
I could understand that happening on a larger ship like an aircraft carrier, but yeah, we definitely don't have
Hmm.
that phenomenon. Sure, there are sometimes they run out of like they just didn't have it. Sometimes they'll plan like two main proteins. And they'll
Mm.
have this protein, and then when it runs out, put this protein out. So sure, that could happen. But as far as something like, hey, there is no food, that's not a thing. That's I mean, like, yeah,
No, I didn't want saying that there
usually
wouldn't be
all
food.
options are available at all times. Usually, when it comes to that, they plan for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's much
Okay.
easier for a smaller ship to be able to plan for that.
What I guess I was saying more was like just that you would have to like have a limited time to eat because there would be queues, like large queues. Not that you would run
Oh,
out of food, but just that, if you're queued up in line, the people who get there, just like in boot camp, right? Like it's kind of a reward to go in and sit down first because lunch is going to be a set amount of time. So the last group coming into lunch at boot camp is going to have the least amount of time to sit down and eat.
well, yes and
Like, does
no.
it work like that on a ship too?
No, so a ship it'll have meal hours. And it depends on ships operations how they do things. I've been on a ship and meal hours were from like 10:30 to 11 was early chow for watch reliefs. So,
Hmm.
or 11 to 11:30 was early chow. Like, so only people who had the next watch starting at 12 could get in line and eat. And then after that, it was just open up to everyone else. And then I've seen other ones where it's like, no, we're just going to be open from 11 to 1300. Other ones like, we're only open at 11 until 15, shut down the line. So it's, you get there when you get there, if you have time to get there early and wait, or if it's set up for you for your convenience. So sure, go eat, get out, move along kind of a thing, or hang out if there's a room kind of thing. No big deal. It really depends on how your ship runs things. As far as boot camp is concerned, though, it's actually when I was there. I don't know what the rules are
Hmm.
now, but you have
I
12
know.
minutes to eat from when the last person sat down. That's it.
Okay, yeah.
So
See what I'm
if you're
saying? So
sure, if you are in front and you sit down first, then you get however long it
30
takes for
minutes.
someone to everyone to sit down, and then 12 minutes from there.
Yeah, so that's yeah. So okay. I mean, I just feel like there's some things that it just takes time to get used to. Like, so what I think is interesting about my perspective and most people who go in probably cause closer to my age, like when as you get older, you have a lot more routines, versus when you're younger, you're still more malleable because, you don't really live your life by routine when you're in high school, like you kind of very spontaneous and you wake up whenever you want and besides when you go to school and stuff. But so I think going to the military, it's easy for them to like conform to a routine. But like I'll give you an example. Like right when I first wake up, I can go use the head, but it's not I'm gonna have to use it again like 15 minutes after I eat. And it's just like my brain is programmed that way
You can
just
use the
from
head whatever you want, man.
that's probably a really common concern that you hear though, right? Like
No,
people
using the head?
no, yeah, like people in boot campers. I guess the only time after doing research I've heard that you can't just go use the head is like when you're actually doing like the uniform inspection. Like you can't go anywhere.
Oh, so it's like, hey, do you really have to go? Because so some things are time constraints, right? Like, hey, we need to get this done, and you have a certain amount of time to do it. All right, so uniforms, I don't remember what the time was, but you're trying to push through upwards of 100 people to get fitted for, like, 10 different uniforms. So that's 1,000 fittings you're doing in a sense. So you're trying to go through and make the process quickly so you can get through in your allotted time. Don't take up time of the next division coming through so you can get to your next event. So there, yeah, I mean, I have plenty of times where recruits had to go use the head, and then it was just like, "Can I use the head? Like, did you get fitted? Yeah, all right, go use the head. I don't care. Come back. Come
You
right
can
back."
just talk like that. Just walk up and say, "Hey, chief, I need to use the head," and that's
No,
okay.
there's a specific way you'll talk, but I'm just
Okay.
shortening it, right?
Okay, I was just making sure.
Yeah,
They'll teach me what to say and how to talk and all that.
yeah. I mean, and
Okay.
also just keep in mind when it comes to boot camp, right? The purpose of boot camp is to set a standard. It sets a standard
Hmm.
and like teaches you the way we do things in the Navy, specifically U.S. Navy boot camp. Teaches the way we do things in the Navy. Say things a certain way. This is not a wall. This is a bulkhead. This isn't a shirt. This is a blouse. These aren't pants. These are trousers. So on and so forth. Right?
Hmm.
You learn these things, and it's the basics. It's the understanding how to communicate, how we operate, and so that when you're done with all of this and you meet that very minimum standard, you can go out and conform to whatever job you need to go do without having to do day one all over again. So that's what really what it is. It's like a giant in-doc is really what it is. You need to learn these things. You need to understand these things. Once you got it down, go out, learn your job, and go do good things. You'll be able to just quickly integrate and find everyone speaks the same language because we all speak Navy. Everyone does the same thing, does it the same way, follows the same rules. It's one of those things. So instead of showing up to a ship, learning how to shave, cut your hair, wear a uniform, how to talk to people properly, no, you do all that at boot camp, right? So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah. So as far as like, there are certain things where it's like, hey, you don't have to do that here. This isn't boot camp. And it doesn't mean that in a negative sense. It's not like,
Yeah.
hey, every time you're standing and doing nothing, you need to be standing at attention. No, of course not. That just doesn't apply to all
Not
situations.
realistic.
Sure, there are times you're going to be in ranks out in the fleet. You're going to be in ranks. You're going to standing in a formation, and there are times you're going to stand at attention or parade rest, or you can stand at ease, but stand in ranks and shut up and listen to the person talking. And so that is a very militaristic thing, or a Navy thing specifically, I should say. And because I can't speak for other branches since I'm not in them, but But yeah, generally militaristic thing. And yeah, sure. So you're gonna learn a lot of those things, and it's gonna become normal. So because there's so many things like we do in the civilian world as civilians that if you were to see a military or Navy person do these things, they're gonna be like, "What are you doing, man? Like, what's going on? This is weird. This is a cult? Why is everyone standing still at 8 o'clock in the morning?" And like,
Yeah.
because it's colors, man. You're on a base, you're in uniform, you stand and salute, or if you're not in uniform, doesn't matter. You stand at attention, and you don't move. 8 o'clock,
Hmm.
colors every morning, and other people will just be like, "This is weird," But it's a thing you do. So that's what boot camp is. It's to set you a foundation so that now you know how this works in the military and the Navy. Now we can start building upon you. Get your rate going, get your experience, get your qualifications, start moving up in pay grades, stuff like that. So some people say it's tough. Some people say it's easy. Some people say it wasn't easy, it wasn't tough. I had to try, but it wasn't impossible. Whether or not it's tough to you is a different story. The purpose is to set the standard.
Everyone's experience is unique going through the
Yeah.
military in general, I think.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And that's why I'm aware that I have a very biased opinion. To me, it's been amazing. Like,
Yeah. If you watch that you I forget that dude's name. Yoon Kim. Have you seen his YouTube?
I don't think so.
He was he was an LS, but when he got in to and he didn't understand too, like before going in, that he could be I forget what the actual term is, but like they have delayed entry program like after boot camp sometimes before you can even go to A
Oh,
school.
heart.
When they put you in holding.
So, I mean, it depends. There's a couple things. THU, harp. Uh,
So he didn't have anywhere to go right after boot camp. So he had to wait. And I think during COVID it was really bad too for a lot of people.
if he went it during
That
COVID, then yeah, there was one-off things that happened all the time.
and then when he actually got sent to fleet, his ship was legit dry docked getting upgrades for his whole first contract. So he was an LS. He never did anything LS related, got any training on. He was literally doing construction, breaking up floors and all this stuff. And he still kept a really good, like positive attitude, and he was like, everybody's experience is obviously going to be different. He just was trying to say like to have an open mind because he did not foresee his career being doing construction because he wanted to start his own business. So he was trying to learn logistics and
Yeah.
and like shopkeeping and inventory. Like he literally picked logistics to understand how that works, not like to pick an easy rate. Like I know a lot of people who pick logistics and yeoman and PS because they think it's going to be easy
Oh,
desk work.
those are not easy rates.
No, I know.
Not
That's why I think it's
whatsoever.
hilarious.
Those are
But if
like
you,
cornerstone rates. If like to be honest, like every rate's important. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
I'm not, but you can't argue one rate is more important than another rate without discounting the importance of the rate itself. So like,
hmm
you don't have a supply system. How are you supposed to do anything? You don't yeoman and PSs. That's your pay. That's your paperwork. That's any administrative thing that happens without like you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. You're not getting
that's
anything
HR.
without the like those. No, 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 no. They're not HR.
No, I mean like in the civilian world, that's like your HR. Like those are your people that help you with your benefits, the people that help you if your pay is messed up. Like that's the HR department in the civilian world is like the PSs and the yeomen. Like
uh,
that's what HR does.
I guess you could say that technically, but yeah, very, very, very pivotal. You want anything to happen in your career, YN and PSs are the ones that make it happen and document it to make sure it's legit and that you get what you're supposed to get. So there's a lot of times where like I've seen people just like, oh, I'm not getting this. Did you talk to the YN? Did you talk to PSs? They're like, oh, they're useless. No, 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 no. You go talk to them. They're probably the most useful people if you want a successful career. Like,
Well, and some people might think, oh, it's a desk job, so it's easier. But people don't realize customer service is really tiring and stressful.
I mean,
And that's a customer service job.
sort of is a customer service job, right? Yes. Is there customer service that comes along with it? Yes. It's what's tiring is they're not just doing your paperwork. They're doing, let's say, once again, I'm going to use one of my ships as an example. They're doing 300 people's other paperwork. And then on top of that, there's stuff coming down from the chain of command, whether it be from the CO, XO, CMC, or even above them that say, hey, do this stuff too. So they're doing
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. They're making sure everyone's stuff is updated. They make sure these things are being processed properly. They had to run stuff by legal. They had to make sure that these. Then they had to deal with these programs that sometimes just don't talk to each other. So they do a whole lot more. If customer service was not there, but they did their job, and they'd say they had terrible customers. They're just rude to me all the time, but they did their job. Come on my ship. I don't care. I don't care.
As
You
long
don't
as you
have
do
to be
your
nice to
job
me.
properly.
If you did your job, you can call me names every single day and say I annoy you. But if you're the guy, because there's people that are like super nice, right? And they're like,
And
oh,
they
they're
suck at their
so
job.
wonderful. But it's like, but you ruined my advancement paperwork 5
Oh
times
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
What is going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, yes, customer service there that is a thing for sure that they have to also deal with. So I'm not going to discount that whatsoever. But there's way more to the job than it just saying it's a simple desk job for sure. Like I feel like you're undercutting YN and PS is a lot if you just say it's a desk job. Like,
It would be funny if you did some reaction videos to like some of the people who say like, "Oh, 5 worst jobs in the Navy." I know you've seen a couple of like the shorts because it's easy to ingest like the shorts content where people are going around like, "Why'd you join the military? Why'd you join the military?" You know, those little
yeah,
short ones. But there's some like longer form ones where people say like, "What's the top 5 worst rates and why?" And Holtec is always like at the top of the list for one of the worst
I
ones.
don't know why. I feel like Holtex
Because they do
get
plumbing.
they're not
So
the
they
only
do
ones that do
well.
plumbing though. There's so many
No,
other
but
people that do
that's
plumbing.
yeah. But I mean, they're like literally if a poop tank is messed up or something, those are guys that got to go in there and weld it. So that's why they're saying like even the potential of
Sure,
having to do that is
but they're not the ones that have to clean it. So what's worse, cleaning it or welding it? Maintaining it? Who owns the system for the poop
heck if
tanks?
I know.
So it's called CHT.
Okay.
So V or most systems are VCHT, so they're vacuum. So when you flush, it goes, it just sucks it through.
Okay.
Um, so you get CHT or VCHT in that sense. There's who's the VCHT technician? It's not HTs.
Who is
It's
it? Who does that?
I
What is
forget.
that rate?
I
Is
forget
it
what
like
that rate is.
electrician or something?
So I mean, there's what is the rate that specifically works on the VCHT system? I forget.
That's what's so crazy about the military. Like, especially, I mean, obviously, when you've been in as long as you have, you understand the family tree of rates. But like, when you go talk to the recruiter and you're like, "Oh, I want to be an AWS," they can't even explain to you that you go to like aviation school and then you start to like choose AWS, AWR, like diver, all this stuff. You can't even it's hard to even research it like what we're talking about right now.
That's what
Like
I.
I never heard of that term before.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that because, like I said earlier, that's what I want to do. I want to get people on this channel and just have them talk about their rate so people can like learn about it. Like, hey, there's no fun stuff to do in the Navy. Hey, there's no like every Marine's a rifleman. Sure, that's a phrase. Every sailor
Every
is
sailor's
is
a
a
fireman.
firefighter. Yeah, true. But what is the jobs in the Marines? I couldn't name you other than just like I don't know,
Rifleman.
Force Recon. Like
Right.
I don't know enough at all, which is why I don't even touch that because that would just be stupid and disrespectful, and I'd make myself look like an
Mhm.
idiot if I tried.
Mhm.
So that's why whenever I talk about rates and stuff, people are like make a rate video, make a rate video. It's like, man, I can only really talk about my rate. So
You can only talk about FCs.
yeah, so I'll eventually make a video like that. But what I want to do is actually just like get people who are cool with like
Mhm.
show their face, not show their face, whatever. As long as they can
Right.
speak and like answer basic questions and be like, hey, talk about your rate. What do you do? What is it like? What kind of how does it separate? Just like how I can talk about how an FC separates. And it's a thing too, right? Like
Well, after A school, I can do a follow-up video with you for RPs because there's questions that I wanted to know like about my rate, which there's a couple chaplain on YouTube that I commented to and they kind of answered back, but it was very vague, kind of what they answered. And that was another thing I was going to ask you about, which I don't know if you know or not, but so the RP, you can go green side or blue side. I'm sure you knew that for RPs. So RPs service the Navy, the Marines, and the Coast Guard. The I don't know how you would get into Coast Guard or what that's called. I just know that they service the Coast Guard. So you do the RPs can get like joint branch training, whatever it's called, like joint service training. You can get training within different branches, and it's like some high level management training you can get later down your career path. You can't get it right away, but like probably after 4 years or so, you can get some cool like LPO training and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I was asking my recruiter. My recruiter's a GSE, so he doesn't know. He's met RPs. He's talked to RPs. Like everybody on the ship's talked to RPs and chaps and stuff, but they don't really know a lot about that rate. They just
Yeah.
see him in the library doing research. That's all really they know
Yeah.
about RPs. And I was like, hey, how do you go green side or blue side? You know, he's like, I really don't know. He's like, I think you just figure it out in A school.
Yeah, you can't really ask chaps about how a rate of an RP. There might be sure.
Even my
So
recruiter didn't know.
yeah, so I mean that's kind of in general how rates work. Unless you're in it, you don't really know too much. Unless your friends in it and they talk to you about it all the time, right? And you get kind of get wrapped up in your own world. You have some general understandings of those rates. Like I could have told you all the things you told me about RPs, but then that's it, man. Like I don't know
Yeah.
much more, you know. And yeah, if you talk to a chaplain about what an RP does, you won't. I would just say even if they could describe to you the rate properly, they wouldn't be able to give you the proper answer as far as experience because just one, they're not an RP.
They're an
Two,
officer.
they're an officer. Three, they're a chaplain. They're a staff officer on top of that. So they're not ever going to be in charge of a command or anything like that. And I don't mean any of that in a sense of disrespect whatsoever.
No,
What I mean is
it's
just
realistic.
one, you're not that rate, so you're not in that world. Two, you're not enlisted, so you're definitely not in that world. Three, you're a staff officer, so you're most definitely not in that world. So it's just you're separating yourselves. Like I could not sit there and explain what is the maybe I could generally describe rules responsibility chaplain, but I could not explain to you or make recommendations of what it would be to be a chaplain. So with that being said, yeah, it would be best just to talk to those people. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I want to do. Just start getting people on that.
That's
Just
why I
want to
want to
talk.
do videos on it because
Yeah.
I've tried to research it, and I like the Navy does really good at putting out attractive, like job related videos, but it's not realistic or hyper detailed because they're trying to attract and recruit people. So they try to make it look as glamorous as possible. And, you know, and everybody has a really short attention span nowadays. So it has to be 15 to 30 seconds and it has to look good.
I
And it has
also
to make
think
sense in that short time.
true. I think those are all true statements. I think also though is the money factor. So they're paying people to make these videos to make them look really good and stuff like that, and then it costs money to put it out unless it's on YouTube, right? They can show it as many
They
times
got
on YouTube.
MCs.
No, those
No?
they are, to my understanding, MCs don't make movies. They just take pictures.
Have you not seen the Instagram posts of these ships, like the ship's own Instagram pages? Dude, they're epic. The MCs are make like sometimes they make videos that give me goosebumps on
Yes.
Instagram.
Wholeheartedly agree, right? But what I'm
Oh,
talking
good.
about is like commercials. So let's think
Okay.
have some commercials utilize probably some videos that MCs has made, sure. But when it comes
I'm talking
to
about the actual Navy website, not TV.
yeah.
I'm talking about like if you go on here and research what does an RP do, the first one's obviously gonna be the Navy website. You know, when you go on the Navy website and you click on the job and it has the video that they pop up, that could totally be MCs making that.
It could. I'm not discounting it whatsoever. What I'm saying is I think the Navy hires an advertisement team and that costs time and
Yeah.
money. So
Yeah.
that's why they're short. That's why I think it's cool that it's completely legal as long as we don't talk about things that we're not supposed to talk about to just come on here and be like, hey, this is what an FC does in general. And this is what I really, really like about my job. And this is the parts that can kind of sometimes suck. And you're allowed to do that. It's like, it's almost like encouraged. There's a program that the Navy has called Every Sailor is a Recruiter or something. Every sailor recruiter, I believe. I'm probably misquoting it. It's something along that lines. It's in a sense, there was a thing where it's like, there was a time where it was like, hey, when you talked about people coming into the military, there was a rule that said like you can't really converse with people that way, or it was thought that you're not supposed to like talk to people who are about to join because it might be like fraternization or some sort of like that. which I never found that rule. There was a rule like that for RDCs, but it was very specific about how that went about. So they came out with every sailor recruiter, and it was kind of like, hey, talk to people, tell them about your rate, tell them what you like about the Navy. It's totally fine. Do that. Encourage people to join. And I feel like I've kind of already been doing that. Hopefully, it's not encourage people to join, but just like, hey, this is what I really, really like. And if someone says, no, that stuff sucks, I don't want to do it. Okay, cool. I'm not going to
Your
convince you to
videos are
join.
cool.
I'm not going to tell you to. I've never convinced people to join, to not join, to stay in or get out. Those are the life decisions you have to make. If I can
Yeah.
provide some information for you to make that decision better, whether it be any one of those four, I'm happy. I did my job. Hopefully, and also maybe there's a community out there that really likes the stuff I like, So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah, your
speaking of
videos
which,
are awesome.
thanks, man.
It even says in your YouTube as well, basically like a paraphrase of what you just said, like your description of your YouTube.
Oh yeah,
It
I
basically
wrote that
says
so
what you
long
just said
ago.
right there.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm sticking to my morals. I wrote that so long ago. The one thing though, do be careful though.
Okay.
And I can't directly quote it, and I hate doing that because I'm about to say something that is important to know if you're going to be doing videos, YouTube videos and stuff while you're in the military. There
Mm-hmm.
is a rule, and I'm going to look it up, and hopefully I'll edit this and I'll put it on the screen. You can't talk badly or be disrespectful about the chain of command when it comes to like public interviews, kind of stuff
Yeah.
like that. So you can't say like, I'm making this up. I don't necessarily have a captain right now or a commanding officer. Oh, my commanding officer is garbage. They're the worst person and they steal money and the Navy's garbage and don't join the Navy. F this place.
You can't paint the Navy in a negative light.
Yeah, you can say things that you don't like. You say, hey, I really don't like the fact that sometimes we had to do this. That's fine. But you can't say, especially because it might be infactual, but you have to be careful. You can't talk bad. I used to just say in short, hey, don't publicly talk badly about your chain of command. It could go bad. And so,
Yeah.
just be careful with stuff like that. If you have something that you don't like about chain of command, talk to your friends. Don't put it on YouTube.